These crazy tractors were the worst in history. The USSR and the USA, being world superpowers, are known for their powerful tractors that continue to serve faithfully, even after many decades. However, among them were some not very successful models, with significant technical problems that complicated their use and reduced work efficiency. Today I will tell you about the worst Soviet and American tractors in history ever created. Let's go! The Fordson Pudelovets was one of the first Soviet tractors, designed and launched into mass production right after the Civil War, from 1918 to 1920. This model was actually copied from the American Fordson tractor. Leningrad engineers significantly adapted the design with the expectation that the machinery would help tackle the task of collectivization and the rebuilding of destroyed villages. Later, after undergoing modernization, it would become the foundation for new developments. How this tractor was used in the USA is unknown, as it initially had many design flaws. But in the context of Soviet reality, there was no choice, and the tractor was assembled from what was available. Problems that made its operation unsafe were evident from the very beginning. The exposed wheel gears often caused injuries, especially among inexperienced or careless tractor operators. While working in the fields, the operators faced difficulties. On muddy or dry ground, the machinery often got stuck, and the tractor operators returned home completely exhausted from the dirt and dust. Additionally, the tractor was characterized by a very loud engine noise, as the exhaust manifold was missing, which created clouds of exhaust fumes. This negatively affected the workers' health, and many of them took a long time to recover after their shifts. Within the group of tractor operators, the Fordson was often called a death trap because its poor stability on uneven terrain could cause it to tip over, posing a life-threatening risk to the operator. In total, about 42,000 trucks were produced. Thousands of these tractors were made, and today only a few specimens can be seen in museums and exhibitions located in the former USSR. The John Deere MT model, introduced in the United States in the late 1940s, was focused on compactness and economy, offering solutions for small and medium-sized farms. However, despite this, the tractor had several serious design flaws. One of the main issues was the inefficient cooling system. In high-temperature conditions, the tractor often overheated, leading to rapid engine wear and a reduced lifespan. Another issue was the engine and transmission. The tractor was not designed for heavy-duty work, which reduced its ability to compete with other models. The transmission often failed, especially when users tried to operate the tractor at its limits, leading to significant repair costs. This left owners feeling that the tractor did not justify its price. Despite attempts to improve the model, the MT John Deere did not meet customer expectations and became a disappointment in the company's tractor lineup. Nevertheless, the lessons learned from the tractor's issues helped John Deere improve their subsequent designs, leading to the creation of more reliable and efficient tractors. In 1934, production of the tractor began at the Leningrad and then the Vladimir tractor factories in the USSR. The Universal, which was based on the American model Farmel Regular. Soviet engineers made a number of modifications to adapt the machine to the harsh working conditions in the country. The tractor quickly became popular, mainly because there were practically no alternatives at the time. Nevertheless, the Universal had its weaknesses. It was equipped with metal cleats, which were supposed to facilitate movement over difficult and off-road areas. But these elements often became a cause of injuries and hazards when used carelessly. The engine, running on kerosene, did not have enough power to perform many tasks, which led to problems on heavy soils and in difficult conditions. This forced collective and state farms to either revert to manual labor or seek more reliable tractors. Moreover, the build quality left much to be desired. The lack of a cabin and control instruments made working with the tractor inconvenient and dangerous. By the beginning of the 1950s, the model was deemed outdated and could not compete with newer, more advanced machines. Thus, despite its initial popularity, the Universal did not meet all expectations and soon gave way to more modern and efficient tractor models. The American Case 1070 tractor was a two-wheel drive agricultural machine produced from 1970 to 1978 at the factory in Racine, Wisconsin. During its production, 7,561 units of this model were manufactured. In 1978, The Case 1070 tractor cost $22,600. Initially, the Case 1070 was designed to provide farmers with powerful and efficient technical assistance. However, over time, the tractor faced criticism due to issues with the transmission and hydraulic systems. The tractor's cooling system was not properly designed, which led to overheating during prolonged use. This not only reduced the engine's lifespan, but also created inconveniences for users. Despite the company's attempts to improve the model in subsequent versions, the tractor's reputation was significantly undermined. Many farmers chose to switch to more reliable brands, and the Case 1070 tractor became one of the forgotten models in the history of agricultural machinery. In 1965, the Soviet Taganrog machine building plant introduced a series of self-propelled tractors for auxiliary work. The main focus of the plant was the production of combines, and perhaps that's why the engineers tried to create a universal model suitable for a variety of tasks. With a power of 75 horsepower, the thersg 75 tractor could reach speeds of up to miles per hour, which was quite suitable for agricultural needs. One of the conveniences was the hydraulic control system. However, why a 12-speed gearbox was needed remains a mystery for future generations. If the model had been refined without haste, it could have become unique and useful. The tractor could operate on various types of soil and be used as a tow vehicle, which would allow it to tackle many tasks in agriculture, thanks to a variety of towed implements. However, even here the machine had its shortcomings. Moreover, the engineers did not pay enough attention to operator comfort. The cabin was cramped, poorly designed, and not equipped with conveniences. A little over 20,000 of these tractors were produced in total, after which the model was discontinued in the same year, 1965. The Oliver 1250 became one of the first American tractors imported by the Oliver Company from Italy in 1965, but it faced several issues when adapting to U.S. agricultural equipment. By European standards, the 1250 model did not meet the needs and working conditions in America. This led to low productivity and dissatisfaction among farmers. Differences in agricultural practices between Europe and the U.S. were the cause of the limitations faced by this tractor. The lack of necessary features made it less competitive compared to local counterparts. To rectify the situation, the company made over 1,000 technical changes to the 1250 and 1255 models. However, these improvements came too late, as the Oliver 1250 tractor had already left a negative impression among users, serving as a valuable lesson for the company on the importance of adapting products to local requirements. The Soviet track tractor of traction class 3T, model DT-175, was produced at the Volgograd tractor plant in 1986. Despite the well-thought-out concept and significant efforts invested in its development, this model did not meet expectations, and it soon faced criticism. One of the main issues with the tractor was its excessive fuel consumption. The diesel engine with 170 horsepower consumed almost half a pound of fuel per horsepower per hour, which, with a fuel tank capacity of 79 gallons, meant high operating costs. For state and collective farms with limited resources, this fuel was not available. Fuel was often in short supply, creating significant difficulties in operation. Moreover, despite its high fuel consumption, the tractor showed low productivity. For example, the older DT-75 performed the same tasks twice as fast and was much more economical. This made the DT-175 a less competitive option. The high cost of the tractor also became a serious obstacle. Maintenance and repairs required significant expenses due to expensive and hard-to-find spare parts. As a result, many farmers preferred more cost-effective and reliable models, which, although priced similarly, delivered better performance in operation. Thus, despite efforts to develop a new tractor, the DT-175 did not meet expectations and failed to gain popularity in the market. The 4-axle articulated tractor Massey Fergus 1805 was introduced in the 1970s and was manufactured in Canada by Massey Fergus. The model was equipped with an 8-cylinder Caterpillar engine with 192 horsepower, which promised excellent performance. However, the complexity of its design led to a number of issues, affecting its reputation. Although the engine was powerful, it also consumed a large amount of fuel and frequently broke down, leading to high operating costs and reduced reliability. The tractor's transmission also did not have a good reputation. Problems with the gears became especially noticeable when operating the tractor under heavy conditions. These issues reduced the tractor's efficiency and increased maintenance and repair costs. Despite attempts to improve subsequent models, the massive Fergus 1805 went down in history as an example of a failed combination of power and reliability. Ultimately, the model quickly faded from view, becoming one of the darker chapters in the history of American and Canadian tractors. According to the calculations of the Soviet government, the K700 tractor was supposed to become a symbol of domestic engineering, as at that time it was the largest tractor in the world. And indeed, to please high-ranking officials, the Kirov tractor plant developed and launched the mass production of a machine that surpassed many foreign counterparts in terms of power. However, when it came to the actual operating conditions of the K700, it turned out that the tractor was not suited for performing agricultural work. Its heavy weight compacted the plowed soil too much. Where this giant passed, not only could crops not grow, but even weeds couldn't. According to its technical specifications, the tractor could replace 4 regular machines at once, which seemed like an optimal solution. But in practice, it turned out that no towing device could withstand such large mechanical loads. Operating such a giant with regular field implements was extremely uneconomical for collective farms. In reality, K700 tractors often sat idle in hangars, while all agricultural work was done using older, but less problematic equipment. The John Deere 2010 tractor, which was supposed to become the standard of American agricultural machinery, in the 1960s, quickly became known as a source of problems. One of its main weaknesses was the underdeveloped gas and diesel engines, which were not only inefficient but also extremely fuel-hungry. Moreover, the tractor struggled with cold climate conditions, making it unsuitable for work in freezing weather. The hydraulic system and engines also frequently broke down, leading to frequent malfunctions and stoppages during operation. The main issue was the tractor's low efficiency, which caused damage and additional repair costs. These defects not only led to equipment breakdowns but also posed serious safety risks for the operator. The John Deere company tried to improve the situation with new models, but the reputation of the 2010 model was so tarnished that it went down in history as a failed example in agricultural engineering. The Soviet tractor, developed at the Altai tractor plant in 1982, was supposed to be an important milestone in the development of agricultural machinery of that time. The model was intended for performing heavy tasks such as plowing medium and heavy soils, pre-sowing cultivation, and disking. The main goal of the development was to improve labor productivity and modernize the agricultural sector of the USSR. The tractor's design was based on a fully welded frame made of profile side members, rectangular in cross-section, and cross ties. Initially, the tractor was equipped with an 8-cylinder diesel engine with a power of 250 horsepower, which was soon replaced by a 6-cylinder turbocharged engine of the same power due to the unreliability of the first option. The model had a mechanical transmission with 12 speeds and a torsion suspension, which provided excellent off-road capability on any terrain. However, during testing, engineers encountered numerous technical problems, which repeatedly delayed the mass production of the tractor. Problems arose in almost every aspect, from the overall layout to the reliability of key components and systems. In the first generation, the tractor suffered from engine malfunctions, and in the third generation, issues arose with the center of gravity, which made working with heavy attachments extremely difficult. The tractor was upgraded 4 times up until the 90s, but despite these efforts, due to outdated technologies and constant production difficulties, the factory was never able to establish mass production of the model. The Ford 6000 tractor, released by the Americans in 1961, was intended to be the first in the Ford lineup with an automatic transmission. However, due to the excessive complexity of the transmission design, it quickly encountered serious problems. The Select O-Speed transmission often failed with difficulties in shifting gears and complete breakdowns during operation, which forced the company to conduct a product recall shortly after production began. In addition to transmission issues, the tractor had significant difficulties with both the electrical and hydraulic systems. Components of these systems frequently failed, making the operation of the tractor difficult and unreliable. Moreover, the Ford 6000 consumed more fuel than other tractors in its class, which increased farmers' operating costs. Despite attempts to improve the model, farmers' trust had already been undermined. The release of an improved version could not restore its reputation, and the Ford 6000 was quickly discontinued, becoming an important lesson for the company. It was one of the biggest failures in the history of Ford tractor manufacturing. This Soviet heavy industrial tractor was created in 1974 at the Cheboksary industrial tractor plant. It was designed for extensive earth-moving tasks. The tractor's design included a sturdy welded frame with reinforced steel side members and an 8-cylinder diesel engine with 330 horsepower. The tractor was also equipped with remote and partially automated control. During operation, several design issues were discovered. When working with rock, material often accumulated on the blade, causing it to spill over the visor and onto the front of the cab. This created a risk of damage to the glass and the cab itself, which forced engineers to move the cab back a few feet for better protection. However, the cab design itself also left much to be desired. The entrance door was integrated with the window, making access difficult, and the driver's view of the work area was limited. Additionally, the tractor's engine had a limited lifespan, which reduced its durability. The electro-hydraulic control of the distributors was not flexible enough, offering only 2 positions, on and off, with no intermediate settings. This limited the capabilities of working with the equipment. Also, the designers did not take into account several factors, which complicated the maintenance and repair of the machine, making its operation less convenient. The history of the universal wheeled tractor UMZ6 began in 1966 and firmly became one of the most mass-produced agricultural machines of the Soviet Union. Production continued even after the collapse of the Soviet Union, ending only in 2001. Over more than 30 years, over 2 million units of this tractor were produced. However, despite its numerous advantages in both production and operational characteristics, the 6 also had its drawbacks, which many domestic tractor operators could not stand. The production of the UMZ6 tractor was established at the Yuzmash plant in the city of Dnipro, Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic. Few people knew that this model was not actually a completely independent development. The UMZ6 was essentially borrowed from the Universal Belarus tractors produced by the Minsk Tractor Works. One of the most controversial issues was the comfort of the UMZ6 cabin. However, over time, the designers did not rest on their laurels. In 1974, a new wave of modernization began, and the development of improvements was carried out jointly with Belarusian colleagues. During the improvement process, global tractor building experience was actively studied. For example, a design solution for a removable roof was borrowed from the German tractor Zeta Crystal. Also, the Italian tractor Fiat 880 influenced the idea of replacing grille hoods with louvered shutters. And the design of the new cabin was largely inspired by the American one, John Deere 4630. These improvements had such a significant impact that the unified cabin, based on the design of the American tractor, was later implemented in other Soviet tractor models as well. Additionally, the French Renault 951 served as inspiration for improving the glazing scheme. The changes were so significant that implementing them required redesigning the tractor itself, including modifications to the fuel tank. Despite the fact that not all proposals from Belarusian and Ukrainian designers were implemented, the tractor after the 1974 modernization became significantly improved and more convenient to operate. In the USSR and the USA, powerful and reliable tractors were produced, which were used in various industries. However, some models did not escape significant technical problems, which reduced their operational efficiency, ultimately leading to their replacement by more modern and improved machines. And now, friends, I want to make you an interesting offer. You have a unique opportunity to become part of our team. If you have video editing skills, can voice over videos in Russian, English, and other languages, or write interesting scripts, we would be happy to work with you. Contact our Telegram bot, the link is in the description. That's all for today. Thank you for watching.